Okay, this video then is to determine whether you need to strengthen your core and is your core an issue in your lower leg pain or knee pain. So we'll take just one very simple test. Basically, we take a look at your posture in your lower back. So basically, if your posture is in perfect alignment, it will suggest that there's muscle imbalances around the pelvis that need to be addressed. And then if that's the case, then these muscle imbalances could be contributing to pain down the leg. It's quite a simple thing to start with. So taking a look at your posture. So standing sideways, what I'm looking at is, imagine here that around my waistband I've got a bucket of water. And this is the rim of the bucket. And I want to take a look at to see how is that bucket aligned. So for most people who are desk-based or sitting for work, we tend to have a little bit of an anterior pelvic tilt. This is where our pelvis here tilts a little bit forward. There's a little bit of a more deeper arch than normal in the back. What we'll find that if it's coming back to the bucket, the water will be pouring out of the front of the bucket if we were in this posture here. Our glutes are a little bit kind of sticky out. They don't tend to, they're a bit loose. There's not really that much gluteal engagement. But we tilt forward a little bit. Now, if that's you, then we'll take a look at what the opposite is. So this is a good posture. This is where my transverse abdominis, some core engagement, a little bit of gluteal engagement. But the rim of the bucket now is level. There's no water coming in or out of the bucket. So that's an ideal posture. And with that one then you suggest that there'd be good muscle length really around the body. There may be imbalances, of course, but it may not be a huge contributor to what's going on down the leg. Thirdly, then you need to look at if we have our posterior pelvic tilt. So this is kind of where our bum would be tucked underneath. I've got it tucked in up here, but if you go back to a bucket of water would be kind of coming out of the back of the bucket. So if I had my hands on my kind of the little bony bits here at the back, you might find little bony knobbles in the back of your hand, and onto the bony bits there at the front of the hip, you'd feel that you're kind of reaching back and down to those bony bits there. That'll be a posterior pelvic tilt. So then typically you'd have tightness here in your glutes and in the hamstrings, and weakness here to your abdominal area. And that would all need to be addressed. So forward pelvic tilt then is where your hip bone is lower than kind of the spot there at the back, so you kind of feels a little bit lower there if you have your hands like that. The water's coming out of the front of the bucket. The neutral posture there is where you kind of feel your hands and your both hands on your hip and on your back here are fairly at the same plane. Make that look a little bit better for you there. And then posterior pelvic tilt is where, like this, water's coming out of the back of the bucket. Your hip bones here are definitely higher than the kind of back here where your thumbs are resting on the back of your pelvis. That'll be a posterior pelvic tilt. So unless you're kind of going around your daily life in an anterior pelvic tilt and you're holding an anterior tilt whether you're running or cycling, then there'll be an indication that your core strength could be contributing to the injury down the limb. So to kind of have a look at this, if you're in an anterior pelvic tilt, so often what you might find with people is that their knees tend to look out a little bit. There can be a little bit of rotation occurring on the kneecaps, so again look at the left leg to kind of see it rotating a little bit. Forward pelvic tilt would be that. Now, what happens when you improve that posture? So try and if you take a look in the mirror, take a look at your leg alignment, look at how your ankle rolls in, the positioning of your knee, etc. And then bring your pelvis into a neutral posture, so kind of where there's no water going out the front of the back of the bucket. And then take a look at your alignment. So that's anterior tilt, coming into neutral tilt. So you're kind of taking a look at my left knee and seeing what's happening to that, the movement of that. If you're in posterior pelvic tilt, you might find that your knees are in a little bit of a bend, your bum's tucked under. And again, there could be some rotation. And then come into neutral pelvis tilt and notice what happens to the alignment of the posture of your legs. So if you tie this in with the gluteal video that I've shown, is gluteal weakness part of your leg problem and is core weakness part of your leg problem, you can see both are linked together. In order to have good muscle balance and good muscle tension, right resting length, good muscle activation around the pelvis, you need to have a pelvis that's in neutral. If you have an anterior posterior pelvic tilt, you create muscle imbalances, and these muscle imbalances then create injury down the leg. So often you don't see one without the other. You often don't see gluteal weakness without a problem with the posture, or you don't see problems with the posture without having some gluteal weakness. So generally we need to look at both, but there are two simple videos to show you how to look at your posture and your glutes in the mirror and determine if you have an issue with these and should you start to strengthen them.